And I would invite you to advance any questions that you have for our panelists. I know I have a lot, but I'm supposed to allow other people to have their say. So I'll hold my questions to these very interesting presentations, and I invite you all to advance yours. There is you can physically raise your hand, or if you go down to the bottom of the screen, you may already be aware of this. There is a reactions button, and you can press the hand icon if you'd like to raise a question. So again, Thomas, I'll put myself on gallery view, and I invite you all to unmute yourselves and to ask any questions you have. Again, and again, thank you to our panelists.
Hi. Yes, to our panelists, thank you so much for your sharing. Our location in New York is where the majority of, say, 400 to 500 Chinese international students, majority of them, I'd say 4/5 of them, are at Lincoln Center, so at the heart of Manhattan. We can't find them. As soon as classes are over, they're gone. They disperse around the city. The few who are here in the Bronx with us um, gravitate naturally to the city to find their Chinese friends. So it's the location really. It's so hard for us to gather them. We can spend our entire day where we think that they might gather, but we just can't find them. So that's one was it. Does it is there a tipping point in the size of a population of the number of international students when they either are too small and that's why they need to be connected to the larger student community, or are there too many of them, they really don't need anyone else because they're sufficient enough in numbers to form their own communities without any assistance or without any interest in the larger community. So that's one. The other, those who are coming to Fordham are, at least by, what do you call this, both by reputation and by perception, they are very wealthy students from very wealthy families. Okay? Repeatedly, the what do you call this, when they come back from their forays into Manhattan, they have all the designer bags with designer clothes and designer stuff with them. Again, there's the matter of self-sufficiency. There is no need for them to contact us for anything else. So that accessibility again is so, it's hard to bridge. So if you have any advice, please, I'd like to hear that.
It sounds like the question is, how do you begin the conversation in a certain sense?
Or even just finding them first.
Yeah.
How do you know?
Uh,
I have a question, and anyone can answer this. I work at the College of the Holy Cross. I'm a campus minister. My question would be, what program, maybe you people behind there would be having some programs that you've started for the Chinese. We don't have any here at the College of the Holy Cross. We run all programs for all the students. We have not specified or really reached out in particular. So my interest would be, what particular program perhaps that, you know, the universities that you are in that may have started for the Chinese, so that, I mean, I don't mind imitating and just trying to implement where we are at the moment.
okay. So we have two questions on the table, and maybe our panelists can begin to address those, and then we'll move on to others. So I don't know if Becky, if you have some thoughts about how to begin the conversation and how to direct programming at Chinese students, and especially in a different situation, you know. I was speaking with Becky about this earlier. The situation at Notre Dame is different, then it means each university is in a different context. Fordham, Holy Cross, Notre Dame, all somewhat different. So.
Thank you, Father. Yeah, in regards to Lito's question, I think in our context at the University of Notre Dame is because they're all there in this on campus or in the surrounding area. They're not. I mean, South Bend itself is not huge. It's it's a smaller city, right? But that being said, I truly understand in the sense of being able to reach out and having that first conversation. And what I have found, especially in our ministry with our Chinese international students, is our relationship with the international program on campus. I think that has been pivotal in our being able to build relationship with the students and being part of the activities that are specific for international students. And that has allowed us to be able to build relationships and have like opportunities to invite to these bigger events. But I think also because we're part of these initial invitations for international students that are more specific, that we've had even those one-on-one conversation with students. And when you speak with one student, they have the opportunity of speaking with their peers, in that even though they disperse to different parts of the area of South Bend, even especially our graduate students that don't necessarily live on campus, but are in all kinds of areas of South Bend, you're able to have one or two that you've made initial contact with, and they're the ones that end up inviting, in to whatever these events are, whatever these conversations are, or small groups in the end. But the other specific thing is that we have a wonderful graduate program in that we have a director that really works with graduate students as well, to where that connection has also been really wonderful and being able to build relationships. So what I would say is relationship building and partners are so important when it comes to ministry, because we can't do it by ourselves. I'm one person in outreach, in multicultural ministry, with thousands of students on campus. And just looking at, in regards to recently, I was writing down some demographic stuff because I was listening to Paul in regards to the number of students on campus. We're looking at like 533 international Chinese students that were in our last count, which was 2019. So I have 500 students just in my charge, but that doesn't include, I also have my my wider community of multicultural students that I also work with. So partners are important. I would really say that. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Sam or Paul would have any insights to add based on your own experience.
Yes, I'd like to address the two questions into one answer. I use Loyola Bible Study as example. Like every beginning of the school year at the end of school year, we always organize a picnic, actually using the backyard of Jesuit house at Loyola campus there. So that would be the good opportunity, especially at the beginning of the school year. It's a good opportunity for us to know new students because they are new. So we can use all the existing students and invite them. And we always send, like we have a big WeChat group. We have, you may not know the WeChat. That's one very powerful tool that majority of Chinese students use. So we have a WeChat group. We have over like a couple hundred students at Loyola. That we keep all the history. So at the beginning of the year, we organize a picnic. So that's a big opportunity for us to know new students via the existing students. I totally, agree with Becky said we have to emphasize the one-on-one relationship. I noticed as an issue, in any gatherings, if we invited too many Chinese students at once, they are going to talk to themselves.
Yes.
Even I invite them to my house. I invite them quite often to my house, like Lunar New Year of course, Moon Festival of course, and any Thanksgiving in particular. I always let them to come to my house. Initially, I invite maybe 20, 30 students, and later on I change my mind. Maybe I only invite 5. They love to come, because they can, I can pick them up or they can come in by train. But if you invite too many, you get trouble. Meaning they felt very comfortable with themselves, even within themselves, they would chat their own phone, okay, yes, by themselves without talking to each other. See, that's a new challenge for me regarding the new technology. So regarding the picnic, I want to see whether I can show you a video only 30 seconds long. Let me see whether I can share this. Can I share the? How can I share the? I'm not sure how to share this.
Okay, if you would like to share, you can lower your cursor to the bottom of the screen. You should see, yeah, the square button there. Yes.
Okay.
No, not
And then you have to you have to choose the, yeah, there you are.
See, that's the Jesuit backyard at Loyola University. Can you see?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's the students at the beginning. They should be at the beginning of the school year. So we have a number of new old students, and then we invite some new students to come in. So that'd be a good opportunity for them to know each other, not only to know us, but to know the students. They can build up a friendship rather quickly than to the ministers, I tell you the truth, And then we can, we are the students' body friendship, and then we have to somehow go to one-on-one connections eventually. That's how we do. You're about like a 45, maybe less, yeah. Let me stop sharing. So we do that quite often, twice a year, beginning of the school year and end of the school year. So we do that. And also we invite one-on-one to my house, and maybe not the one, maybe couple, few of them come to the house. And one thing I tried to do, but not very successful, was I tried to introduce individual Chinese students to American families. Not the Chinese families, American families. For some students, they are interested in the American culture. So I always say, if you are interested in, become a host family. Not in a home, in a legal sense, but go there maybe occasionally, or give them a call, or maybe have a dinner together. When I was at University of Chicago, was quite successful at that time, and the number of students, because this program, I introduced each other through the Lutheran Church, and it was very successful. Not very, but number of families become host family for some Chinese students. Okay, that's a program I tried to push within the St. Therese Church. Somehow didn't work out well, but I tried. Even today, I'm still asking if you're interested in American families, let me know so we can introduce each other.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Sam, I don't know if you have anything that you'd like, any suggestions you'd like to make, because you already made quite a few, but you may have something further to say.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate Becky and Paul's input, because they represent two positions in the spectrum. On the one hand, if you have so many Chinese students to deal with, to engage with, then you would choose a more institutional approach, where we delegate and collaborate with other institutions to care for all these Chinese students on campus. On the other hand, you have a very personal approach by inviting Chinese students come to your house and build a more personal relationship. And I think many campus ministers will choose anywhere along the spectrum, depending on their own capacity and the situation they are in. But I think in the end, I think it was really much about being there for Catholic students, for Chinese students in one way or the other. It's about being there. It's about being available in one way, either directly or indirectly, either through institutions on campus or through other Chinese students or personally by oneself. Because I think it reminds me of Jesus' passage, when Jesus came to Peter, when he was still called Simon, he told Simon that to make him become the fisher of men, or fisher of human community, essentially. The idea is that Jesus was able to identify what Simon needs and what Simon is capable of based on his career. So there's something very powerful about that, in the sense of the campus ministers needs to have the ability and the skill of leadership to identify what Chinese students are capable of doing and their potentials. So take them to the next level. So either through direct ways or through indirect ways. So I would recommend the the campus ministers who are interested in engaging with Chinese students to simply be there, to observe what they are capable of doing. So if they invite you to hang out with Chinese students, be there. To have a Chinese meal, be there. To add to the WeChat group and hang out, be there. Just like making other friends. It's not so especially difficult as long as you are just be willing to be friends with them, hang out with them. I think that would be my suggestion, just to be more Christ-like, to embody what Jesus Christ is supposed to do.
Thank you very much, Sam. I don't know if any of our other audience members have some questions that they would like to raise at this time. I do have a couple of questions of my own while we're waiting, and then if people have them, again, Lito Salazar might also have some further questions. But one of the questions that I've thought about and would like to raise now is whether or not anybody has involved, and I think you mentioned that you did this at Notre Dame, involved peers in the ministry. In other words, our organization is not involved in direct evangelization, but in building friendship and mutual understanding and trust. I think that's very, very important. And so I think that I know when I've gone to China and had the opportunity to make friends there, it has made a difference in my life, and I've kept up with those relationships. And so I'm wondering if you've thought about that or encouraged those sorts of peer relationships in the things in your outreach, and your thoughts about that.
At the University of Notre Dame, I think it's really part of the campus ministry in regards to peer ministry, especially the formation programs that are offered through campus ministry are for leadership, and it's leadership for students to be able to be ministers to their peers. And so we have this wonderful formation program called Anchor Formation, and it's using our senior class students and receiving formation and being part of their community, in essence, and being what, like Sam said, being Christ in the midst of their peers, and living out their faith. And I think inside of that, as campus ministers as well, it has worked a great deal in regards to being able to have graduate students that have converted to Catholicism, and being at a table with new students on campus, and being able to give their testimony, in regards to their walk while at the university, has been really actually something that has sparked conversation as well. When we have someone giving their testimony while being at the university for the last 4 or 5 or some years that they've been there. I think one of the things that I have just been, and that has been difficult, like Paul has said, is the fact of the large group on how, once they find their community on campus, because the international program at Notre Dame does a wonderful job. But that being said, it's hard then to invite them outside of that. You know, they do such a great job that to be able to invite them outside of their group setting of international students, and then being able to build relationships with the wider campus and campus ministry has been our difficulty at times, you know. But that being said, the encouragement of their, I guess, of their leadership has been really important too in regards to that, and being able to walk with them, you know, to a campus ministry gathering, you know, or to a dinner that's being offered. So that has been really important in that respect, because it can become very siloed, you know, and it becomes dangerous in that regards too, that we then don't go live outside of just ourselves and our community, that, you know. And so so we've been really trying to working in that area as well. And then when it comes to just the peer ministry, having small groups is really important, because like Sam was saying, the conversations, and Paula was saying, in small groups are really important. And one of the unique things that we have at the University of Notre Dame are the first year small group programs, which come out of, because we have first year retreats that we do with all the students. I have an Asian retreat, I have a Latino, and I have a Black student retreat. And inside of these, then we bring them all together into these small groups where the conversations start happening in a deeper way. And so those are opportunities as well, and those are peer-led as well. The facilitators of those small groups are sophomores that lived the first year experience, and so it's being able to share in that way too.
Excellent. That's very, very insightful. I don't know if Paul or Sam would like to add something to that.
Yeah, Father Michael, one thing I want to mention, you know, I'm not sure whether it's a peer or not. You know, once before the graduation, you know, the number of students may want to, you know, continue the career in the United States. So each year I organize like one evening called like career hunting, meaning I invite some real professional and successful businessmen, women who are Catholic and Chinese as well. So I invite them to teach students how to write a resume, first of all, and also how to interview. What's the interview skills you should have, you know? That's another opportunity to invite students to come to our event. That's one thing we have been doing for last 5 years, and sometimes even in the basin of St. Therese Parish. And I feel that's quite a successful event, because we can use this opportunity to attract young people and come to this event, and also may not limit to Loyola University in that regard, because when we organize those activities in St. Therese Parish, and you know they have a number of universities surrounding the Chinatown over there, like IIT, UIC, and DePaul, Loyola. So the number of students, somehow when we send out the message to different groups, we do get a good number of feedback and come in. But one thing I still feel challenged is we try to use the international students office. You know, we were trying to get like an international student mailing list. We're not able to, for whatever the privacy reason. Somehow, they've not give us anything there. So I think because one thing I want to mention is for some like I know some Chinese Christian denominations, even when the students are still in China, they were trying to come to the United States, they already get the contact info, meaning they will go to O'Hare to pick them up. But don't underestimate that's the first initiative. That will be good one, because they are new. They know nobody yet. They didn't form a strong community yet, a small group yet. And then the first person who is a minister go there to pick them up. I think that's we didn't do that at all. I know, I understand, because only like one campus minister in Notre Dame, which is Southern University, it's no way for Becky to go to do that. But I think we need to learn those other denominations, how they work with the Chinese students. You know?
Well, they have, a lot of them have on the ground network that's long established. That's how they know of these people and so forth. But one of the things that both of you mentioned, and I think this is something to think about in university ministry, is that there is an international students office on most campuses, and they have very well run programs, and they're also trained. A lot of these people are trained on a kind of standard model in the United States. They're professionals who they're not trained in ministry. There's a standard model for international ministry, and it's based on this idea of building community, that you have your own unique experiences and so forth. But the thrust of that really can be to isolate international students. And what is the point of coming to America if you don't get to know Americans, if you don't get to know the culture, if you don't grow beyond your initial horizons and so forth? So I think in some ways that international students model has to be challenged, and in a friendly way, because they're not trying to, I think that what they're trying to do is build up support. But we have one of our board members works at the International Students Office at the University of San Francisco. So he is a young Jesuit. He's not ordained yet, but he's from Taiwan. And so he has very interesting insights about how that office operates, but it has its own dynamic and values and perspective. I don't know if that's mitigated at Notre Dame, where they also participate in the larger ministry of the university. But in some cases, even on a Catholic campus, they have their own ministry, their own perspective, their own way of doing things. And as I said, I think that is worth reflecting on. And they do what they do, and it has its own integrity, and you can't create a war with them. But there are ways that maybe you can work with them, or maybe not. So can you say to the International Ministries Office, there are students coming from outside. Our office and campus ministry can help orient students, that sort of thing. In addition, when it comes to peer ministry, as I mentioned, that's also a way of breaking people out of that enclosure, to building those friendships. And as one of the things our organization is thinking of doing is reaching out through campus ministry and saying, would you find those students who have been to China, who are taking Chinese, who are interested in making a Chinese friend? We think of ministry as, sometimes we think of it as evangelization, one direction, but we have to think of it as two directional. That's how everybody grows, I think, in the process. So that's one of the things that I'm thinking about doing. When I was at Loyola Chicago, where Paul has been doing ministry, we at one time had a link with a center in Beijing, and there were students from Loyola who would go there and then come back. And I always thought this is a great way for them to continue their growth in encountering a Chinese society and culture and Chinese people. I mean, you can read about it in the books, but it's the people who embody a culture. So we will continue to think about that, but I just want to raise that question and really make it explicit that there's a model there that can support Chinese students while they're in the United States, but also cripple them, you know.
Father, if I could add something there too. One of the things that I think it was 3 years ago, campus ministry with Notre Dame International partnered in and through music. We were able to use our choirs and our handbell choir and just be able to come together and do something in making that connection through campus ministry and Notre Dame International. We ended up traveling and taking our handbell choir to China. In the end, that little project turned into something just greater, to be able then to do an international, exchange in that way. And it was just beautiful, but it started from a very little project of using music for that introduction.
Sam.
I do want to say on that note, yes, I think, as I said, planting these seeds are very, very important. And on the topic of music, in my freshman year, participated in a university choir, and we happened to sing a Latin mass setting. Back when I have no idea what Christianity is, I have no idea what Latin is, but I sung the entire Latin mass. I enjoyed it, which is very ironic. But then it becomes how I actually became interested in Christianity, in the Catholic culture, not simply interest in classical music only. So it actually invites me to delve deeper into something I already love. So I would really hope that the campus ministers can provide experience to Chinese students in the sense that they would provide them with extra insights and perspective into the things they already love, whether the things are Chinese things or non-Chinese things.
Yes,
that is really brilliant.
We have up to 10% of our university choir being members of the Chinese international community, that they make their way easily into the university choir and different a cappella groups.
So get them to do a few masses in Latin.
In Latin, yes.
Other questions?
So I don't really have a question specifically, but I have a comment. I actually work for the international office at Seattle University, and I feel a little bit attacked by some of the things that you said.
Oh, good.
And I just want to let this group know, I mean, international offices usually do want to partner across campus, but there are certain government regulations that we are bound to, and that typically is the priority of the international department. And so it may not be that they don't want to partner, it's that they don't have the capacity to partner. I, for one, am always happy to partner with our campus ministry at Seattle University. And it's not always easy to reach out to students when you're an urban campus like we are. And, along that line, often international programs don't receive the funding support from the university that we really should have. And more often than not, you'll find international offices stuck in the middle of a parking lot somewhere, far from the main part of campus. So I just wanted to share some of my feelings, having worked in international education for the past 20 years. And I guess I do have another maybe comment or question is for the panelists. Have you reached out or worked with any of your Chinese student organizations on your campuses? Because we for one have a very active CSSA, a Chinese Student and Scholar Association.
This is Paul. Yeah, I do, because they have they call it students, Chinese students. How to say in English? I'm not sure. The 学生会 or Chinese 学生会, or I don't know how to say, Chinese Students Association.
Chinese
back in
Students and
Loyola.
Scholars Association usually.
Yes, in Loyola they have one. We definitely have we know that the president was a part of the member of our Bible study group as well. So we always like can go in through the back door to get to get send out all the messages to their group. And also they have the same student body back in DePaul University. We also can go into their group to get the information, send the information we want to send. So definitely we work with all the Chinese groups as much as we can. But students body, that is definitely one of the examples we've been working with very closely.
Mhm. Very interesting.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, Bill, and at the University of Notre Dame. I've made contacts with our undergrad and our graduate student groups on campus, and our undergrad one is very large in regards to, and not just our Chinese students, it's our Asian student ministry, and it's a very large club, and so I work with them a great deal in regards to our ministry on campus. But yeah, I have worked with different groups, and also with the faculty and the staff that are on campus that are Chinese has been just so very helpful as well too.